or as commonly referred to as Staff Sergeant B. Before we get started today, we're going to go over today's history, what happened in the military. In the Army in 1918, World War I was reaching its climax as Allied forces all along the Western Front continued launching attacks against the Germans in the Heimberg Line. In the Marine Corps in 1943, the 2nd Marine Parachute Battalion is landed by sea at the Vosa on the islands. They engaged on Japanese forces. And in the Air Force in 1944, the first B-29 Superfortress bomber mission flew from an airfield in the Manila Islands. And in the Navy in 1999, 2 Blue Angel aviators, O'Connor, 35, and Collins, 32, were killed when their F-18 Hornet crashed during a training flight near Moody Air Force Base in Georgia. And a quick note, at Aviation Nation is coming to Nellis on November 13th and 14th. Admission is free and so is the parking. From what I was handed, it looks like the parking opens at 8 a.m. and the parking closes at 5. And they seem to have a nice little venue of what's going to occur that day. So if you're interested in going to Aviation Nation, it's going to be celebrates the 21st century of the Air Force of their fighters. So without further ado, today's show, I'm going to basically talk about me for today's show. It's coming up that at the end of this month, I'll have been retired for 13 years. So I just feel appropriate that tell you a little background about myself. I had joined when I graduated high school, a little after, I held down quite a few jobs. And then I joined the Marines, went to Parris Island. I went there on the 31st of October, 1977. And as anybody will tell you, the training, what we went through. But I have a couple stories of what we did encounter. For one, the bus ride is usually always the first thing you remember when you get on the base. They always used to bring us in at dark, and I think that was more of a psychological reason because you don't know what you're coming into. And then the bus comes up on the base, slowly creeps through the area till you get to receiving barracks. Then the bus lights came on, and then the drill instructor came on, and he went through his little spiel and started screaming, telling everybody to get off the bus and get on the yellow footprints, which was always exciting, considering I sat at the back of the bus, and at the stairs I was number 5. Everybody brought suitcases and thought they were going on a fun trip or something. I don't know what they thought they were doing, but I brought nothing. So we got in there and we were ready to go. After that, everything was pretty much, hurry up and wait, which was the big phrase that we were told back then. I don't know if they still do it today. So training was training, as it always is, as it always will be. But I remember one particular night, our drill instructors, they just got done bedding us down, and we weren't in the racks no more than 15, 20 minutes, and then the barracks light came on, and initially we spring out of bed and we stand on line in front of the racks, the beds. There was a little line there that was put by a magic marker, and in time it wore off because you knew where you were supposed to be. So here we are, just put to bed. He gets up and he comes out with his traditional attitude, screaming, ranting, and raving, and he's telling us to grab the blankets off the racks. So we grabbed the green blankets and he says, cover the windows. So you open the windows and you put the green blankets in, you shut them up. So lights are still out as far as everybody else can see. Then he tells us to strip the racks. Take off all the linens, the pillowcases, throw the linens in the center of the squad bay, right in the middle of the room. So we throw everything there. Then he turns around and says, throw all the mattresses in the center. So all the mattresses, they get piled in. Now, right where the squad bay, right where the racks are in the squad bay, you have an area where the rack is, and then a little between the windows and where the racks were, there was a little walk space that we used to have to go back and forth. Well, he had us push the racks and line them up around the whole squad bay, and then we pushed them like it was some kind of a train. And we pushed the racks around the inner side of the barracks in the squad bay, and we were doing that. And in the meantime, he would stop, make us do push-ups, squat thrusts, leg lifts. And at one point, as we're pushing the racks, he pulls me aside and just grabs, he just arbitrarily just grabs. Pulls one of us over, tells me start pushing. So I get in a push-up position and I start doing push-ups. So I'm going doing that. Not too much later, I feel, boom, right on my back. It's a foot locker. So I'm going, and I'm still pushing, and all of a sudden you feel, boom, there's a second one. So he's telling you this, he's yelling at you, keep going, keep going. So you're doing push-ups, and as I'm doing push-ups, I hear, boom, I hear another one. So this is going on for some time. So finally, I guess he gets his thrill, figures, all right, I've had enough. Takes the lockers off and turns around, tells everybody, clean this place up and go to bed. So he walks back to the duty house and leaves us all standing there sweating with the racks all in a disarray, the whole squad bay torn in half. So we had to start putting the racks back together and start cleaning up. And right at that point, this other private walks by me and says, you okay? And I says, yeah, just doing it. He goes, at that one point you had 5 lockers on your back. And it was phenomenal to think with the, excuse me, the kind of stuff that they used to do to us back then in, 77 was phenomenal. That was 3331 was my platoon. Graduation was a good day. And just to show that we didn't get all cocky in our dress uniforms, on the way to the parade ground, he took us to the sand pit and he made us do bends and thrusts and push-ups and squat thrusts in our uniforms just to keep us humble. So when we graduated, he still knew that he had control over us. So that was my time in Parris Island. I have a couple other stories about Parris Island, but that was the thing about Parris Island. It was one way in and one way out. It was a 2-lane road. Other than that, everything around you was all swamp, and they showed you pictures of how people tried to leave and how they couldn't make it and they drowned, they got attacked by sharks. It was different. So after there, I had gone to Camp Lejeune. And I was given, my assignment is a basic 0311. I was a grunt, and then I became a machine gunner. And then wound up going to a unit, becoming supply, called LSB. We used to wear little red patches on our uniforms. You had an inch-by-inch patch that you would wear on the center, in the front of your cover, your hat. And then you would have a red patch on the side of your trouser leg. It was like 3 inches long, 2 inches wide. That meant the landing support battalion. That's whenever we did a beach landing, we were supposed to be there. That was our job. So that was the unit. We learned how to work on forklifts, 4,000, 6,000, 10,000 in the Terex section. And the Terexes were cranes and such. So I was in that unit. Now, prior to joining, like I said, I had a few other jobs. I worked in a warehouse and I did forklift driving. So we had to take classes on their forklifts. The ones I was used to was the warehouse, the little basic yellow ones that everybody sees around. But the ones that they had were the Terex. They were the big ones, the big massive tires, almost like a cat. So it was one morning on Camp Lejeune, we had to go to our class, and it was starting to be rainy. It was real bad out, and we couldn't be outside to look at the stuff because it was raining too hard. So the sergeant turns around and he says, everybody get into the shed. And they had this big tool shed where you can roll the forklifts in and work on them. So it was really never meant to be a classroom. So we're sitting everywhere on ammo cans, workbenches, gallon drums, whatever was in the area. So sergeant, he's going on teaching the class. Hey, you could see by him, and he's with the pointer. He don't even want to be there. It's the weather makes you feel like that. Real, let's just call it a day and go home. But me and this other Marine in the back, we're just sitting on the workbench and we're just gabbing away, talking about, I don't know, stuff. And the sergeant makes it quite clear, makes direct eye contact at me, and he says, if you don't want to be in my class, and then he walks over to the wall, he picks up some shovels and picks, he throws them on the ground. He says, if you don't want to be here, get out, go dig a hole. So he's staring right at me. So I figure, all right, I'm not going to stand here and let him humiliate me. I was a private. I had nothing to lose. So I jump off the workbench. It's dead quiet in there at this time, you know. So I walk on over. I grab a shovel. I go outside and I start digging a ditch. All right. So I'm in the rain and I'm wearing the old green satines and I'm digging away. Meanwhile, he's in there giving us class. I'd say about 30 minutes later, I come walking in, and I'm all covered in mud by this time, you know. He looks at me and he goes, "Oh, so you ready to come back? You learned your lesson?" And with a straight face, I looked at him. He goes, "I didn't realize that was supposed to be the answer." I just looked at him and said, "No, I need a pick. I hit a rock." So he about came unglued. So he tells me, "Get the damn rock and, you know, get your pick and get out of here and take care of your rock." So I'm out there digging. And that's what I did every day for 2 weeks, 8 hours a day. I came in and I dug. And I wound up digging a trench. From what I'm told by others that is there today, it is 22 feet long, 4 feet deep, 4 feet wide. And when I ask others about it, they used to put boards, planks over that, and they would roll the forklifts and drain the oil. And that was there. And they said, "Oh, that, you know, that's been there since we can remember." They said, "That was there when I got to that unit," until I turn around and tell them it was there because I put it there. But at one point when I was digging, the sergeant came up to me and he kneeled down as I'm digging. He goes, "How long do you intend to dig?" And I says, "How long is Camp Lejeune?" And he says, "That long?" And I said, "That long." So, you know, he would get up and walk away, and you'd see the sergeants over there cohercing about me, you know, talking and pointing. And then one fine day, sergeant comes up and tells me, he says, "Get up and go see the captain. He wants to speak to you." So I get up and go into the captain's office. And again, I'm still covered in mud. Every day you go home the same, like a contractor. You go home the same way, you come in clean, you go home looking like 6 miles of bad road. So I'm standing at attention. He's chewing me out. And the whole time he's yelling at me, I'm at attention. Right there in the front, you can see, it's my driver's license for the forklift. So he's going on about how I'm too good for the class and I can't do this and I can't do that, you know, how I don't want to be a team player. And I'm telling him I used to drive forklifts. I understand this is just a bigger, the concepts are all the same. I understand how the up and down and the tilt. And I said, you know, the concept is all basically, this is a lot bigger than I was accustomed to. So he gives me my license. He says, "Get out of here and go back to your unit." And he says, "I want any more crap out of you." So I says, "All right, sir, no problem." I turn and walk away. Come outside, and the sergeant's standing there, and he goes, "Oh, did you learn your lesson?" I said, "Yeah, I learned my lesson. Got my license. I learned my lesson." I says, "What am I going to do with the ditch?" He says, "Oh, just leave it. You know, we'll let others see what happens when they don't want to follow orders." I said, "Oh, there you go. You go get your license anyway. That's what happens." So I was at Camp Lejeune for about 6 months, and then my platoon sergeant came up and gave us in formation some orders. And I'll tell you about that as soon as we come back from a break. So get a cup of coffee and sit back for a minute. I got a couple stories. See you in a bit.